It was almost midnight when the restaurant's last customer left, the bell above the door giving a tired jingle as it closed. The soft hum of the refrigerator and the clink of plates in the back were the only sounds left in the dimly lit place. Daniel Morgan, dressed in worn jeans and a plain shirt that gave no hint of who he really was, wiped down the counter with slow, deliberate motions. The shift manager thought he was just another new hire, a quiet middle-aged man who didn't talk much and worked like he needed the job. And that was exactly what he wanted them to think. But his eyes, sharp and observant, missed nothing. He had been in the restaurant for only 3 days, part of his annual tradition of going undercover in one of the many establishments his corporation owned. To everyone else, Morgan Holdings was just another faceless empire in the hospitality industry. To him, it was his life's work, built from scratch after years of hardship. And every year, he traded his tailored suits for an apron, just to see the truth no balance sheet could show him, the people. Tonight, his attention wasn't on the counter he was wiping, but on a young woman by the far end of the kitchen. She moved quickly, like someone who had too much to do and not enough time to do it, her ponytail swinging with every step. He'd noticed her before, Emma. She had a smile that could light up a table even when she looked like she hadn't slept in days. But she never lingered to talk, never joined the idle chatter of the other staff. He saw her glance around nervously before opening the bread warmer. She pulled out several rolls, still warm, and slipped them into a plastic bag. She tucked the bag carefully into her worn tote, the motion smooth, practiced, and quiet. Most people would have called it stealing. But Daniel didn't move, he just kept wiping, his mind suddenly turning over questions. When her shift ended, she tried to leave quickly, her eyes down. Daniel called out, "Hey, Emma." She froze, her fingers tightening on the strap of her bag. "You forgot to clock out," he said simply. She gave a faint, almost guilty smile, muttered a thank you, and disappeared into the night. He thought about it long after the restaurant was locked and the lights turned off. There was something in the way she had done it, not greed, not carelessness, but desperation. And something else, the way she'd checked the door twice before taking the bread, as though she feared not just being caught, but losing something she couldn't afford to lose. The next evening, he waited. She was late, arriving with damp hair and a flushed face, apologizing to the manager as she tied her apron. Midway through the shift, Daniel found himself washing dishes beside her. "Long day?" he asked casually. She gave a small shrug. "Long life," she replied, and then looked away. It took a week before he saw her do it again. This time, it was not just bread but 2 small containers of soup. She wrapped them in napkins before slipping them into her tote. Again, she checked over her shoulder. Again, she left quickly. This time, Daniel followed her. Not too closely, just enough to see where she went. She walked 6 blocks in the cold night, her thin coat doing little to protect her. She stopped at an old apartment building with peeling paint and dim hallways. Instead of going upstairs, she went to the basement, where a thin light glowed through a half-open door. Inside, Daniel saw something that made him stop in the shadows. A small folding table sat in the corner. On it were a few mismatched plates, a carton of milk, and the bread she had brought. 3 children, none older than 10, sat on the floor, their eyes lighting up when they saw her. She knelt down, hugging each of them before unpacking the food. The smallest boy clapped his hands. "Real bread," he whispered, as though it were a treasure. Daniel's throat tightened. She hadn't stolen for herself. She had stolen for them. He left without being seen, but her image stayed with him. Over the next few days, he began to notice more, how she sometimes skipped her break, how she never bought food during her shift, how she often rubbed her hands together for warmth. He saw her quietly sliding leftover meals into boxes, never wasting a crumb. Finally, one snowy night, he spoke. "You take the leftovers home, don't you?" he said softly as they stood by the sink. Her hands froze in the soapy water. "If you're going to tell the manager, just do it," she said flatly. "I'm not," he replied. "I just want to know why." Her shoulders sagged. "Because they're hungry," she said. "Because no one else cares. Because the food is going in the trash anyway, and I can't sleep knowing they're downstairs in that cold basement with nothing." "Who are they?" She hesitated, then said, "My brother's kids. He didn't make it. Bad choices. Their mom left years ago. Foster care wanted to split them up, so I didn't let them. But I can't afford rent for all of us, so I took the basement. It's cheap, And we stay together. Daniel listened, his heart heavy. And you work here to keep them fed. She gave a small, bitter laugh. I work here to barely keep the lights on. The rest, I figure out. There was no self-pity in her voice, only exhaustion. He saw the fight in her, the quiet determination that came from loving someone more than yourself. He also saw how close she was to breaking. In the days that followed, Daniel found himself drawn to her resilience. She never asked for help, never complained, never looked for sympathy. But when one of the kids got sick, she came in with red-rimmed eyes and worked the whole shift anyway. When her coat zipper broke, she used a safety pin without a word. The truth about who he was sat like a weight in his chest. He could fix everything for her with a single phone call, but he needed to know if it was just pity or something deeper pulling him toward her. One evening, a blizzard hit. The streets were nearly empty, but Emma still showed up for her shift. Only a handful of customers came in, and by closing time, the snow was piled high outside. Daniel offered to walk her home. She resisted, then finally agreed. They trudged through the storm, their breaths clouding the air. When they reached her building, she hesitated before inviting him inside the basement. The children's faces lit up again when they saw her, and Daniel felt something in him shift. She introduced him simply as a friend from work, but the kids accepted him instantly, offering him a piece of bread like it was a feast. That night, Daniel went home to his penthouse, a world away from the cold basement, and lay awake. He thought of the laughter in that dim room, the way Emma had divided the food so each child got the same, the way they had clung to her like she was their whole world. The next morning, he made a decision. The following Friday, the restaurant staff was told the regional manager would be visiting. Everyone scrambled to make things perfect. Emma just rolled her eyes, muttering that managers never noticed people like her anyway. But when the regional manager walked in, Daniel was not in jeans and an apron. He was in a tailored suit, his presence commanding the room. Conversation stopped. Emma's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked straight at her. He addressed the staff first, thanking them for their work, acknowledging the challenges they faced. Then he turned to her. Emma, could you step outside with me for a moment? She followed him out, confusion and unease written across her face. I'm not who you think I am, he began. My name is Daniel Morgan. I own this restaurant, and a few hundred others. She blinked, silent. I saw you take the bread. I saw you take the soup. I followed you. Her face paled. Please, she whispered, don't take the kids away. I'm not here to punish you, he said quickly. I'm here because you showed me something I'd forgotten, why I started all of this in the first place. To make a difference. Tears welled in her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I want to help. Not just with food, with everything. Housing, school for the kids, a better job, whatever you need. She shook her head. I don't take charity. It's not charity, he said gently. It's an investment, in the strongest person I've met in years. Her tears fell freely then, and for the first time, she didn't hide them. Over the weeks that followed, Daniel kept his promise. The kids moved into a warm, bright apartment. Emma started working in the corporate office, where her insight and determination quickly made her invaluable. And slowly, in the quiet moments between meetings and shared dinners, something grew between them, not just gratitude, but love. It wasn't the fairy tale where a rich man saves a poor woman. It was two people saving each other, one from a life of isolation and the other from a life of survival with no rest. Years later, when people asked Emma how she met her husband, she would smile and say, he caught me stealing bread. But Daniel would always add, no, she was feeding the hungry. She just didn't know she was feeding my heart too. And the lesson he carried from that winter night never left him. Sometimes, the smallest act of quiet courage is the most powerful thing in the world. Because love doesn't always arrive with grand gestures, sometimes, it walks in quietly, carrying a bag of bread.